So, what is it that you do here? What is your role? What do you want to teach people? How did you get started?
Yeah, look, basically what we do here is we help bring knowledge to the middle, mostly middle class, but just I like to say to our community on concepts about money, so I think that that's something that when you look around and you see what's going on out there financially, I think anybody that the minute you or even start high school, you start noticing your parents struggle with finances, and everybody kind of sees that, and it's accepted as like a norm that it's going to happen across the board. In reality, it shouldn't be happening. We live in a great country. It's the land of opportunity, yet we have 95% of people who actually work 40 years in this country can't retire with any dignity. So I attribute that, number one, to the lack of education that has been provided. I am an alum from FIU and studied business, and I wish that in colleges, not just FIU, but colleges across the country, they would teach more concepts about money, because that could help out going forward in terms of how people carry it out later on in their lives. But because of the lack of knowledge we get on finances, people make very bad decisions when it comes to their monies. And you're going to have a certain part of the population that they'll always make bad decisions. But I would tend to think that there's a good percentage, or at least a quarter or a third of our society, that would make smarter decisions financially if they had the means and the knowledge given to them to do it. So that's what we focus on. We focus on giving people knowledge on debt, how not to fall into debt, and if you do, how to get out of it as fast as possible, how to save enough money for your retirements, how to look at set up budgets, everything that might help somebody in their inefficiencies of understanding finances, we bring to the table. Now, my role though, because I've been doing this for 13 years and helping set up people with plans and things like that, but my role is more of a mentor, and I look for talent, and I actually license people in this regard who, my wife and I run a team of people, 73 licensed reps now. And what's exciting about it is now we're just teaching people that are going to teach people. And why that's exciting is because it's a lot more impactful. I'm one person sitting down with a bunch of families. Yeah, I'm going to affect some people and I'm going to influence some people, but I can't have the effect community-wide that we can if we actually have, we're a trainer of trainers, so to speak. Does that make sense? So that's what we do right now. We license people, and we like people who are green. In other words, we don't want necessarily somebody in the financial services field for the last 20, 30 years. It is true when they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It kind of does fall into line with that. Not everybody, some people can adjust, but a lot of them can't. So my wife and I, what I do is I just look to talk to people in the community who, one of two things, this does happen, right? People that have been working a 9 to 5 for many, many years, or even if they're self-employed but just feel like they've made way too much money and they don't have a lot to show for it, we like to actually include them in this community that we're building, because what we promise here is that they're going to get that knowledge that they never have gotten for years. They're going to be able to come in, internalize it, get their licenses, and then all we want them to do is pay it forward and go teach somebody else that. And if they wanted to turn it into a business like I have, great. If they just want it as knowledge, and then every now and then help a fellow member out, and just because they have the licenses, they can get compensated for it legally, then hey, why not do that, right? So you have that spectrum, and then you have the person who, look, they're a little bit tired of the 9 to 5, the job, the employment world. I think that's something that our country is starving for, more entrepreneurs. And so that is the message that I do try to put out there, because I notice the force feed of, go to school, get good grades, go get a good job. There's nothing wrong with going to school, go get good grades. I think everybody should do that. But I do have I do have some hesitation in promising somebody a good job when they do those first two, because it really hasn't happened exactly like that. And so the important part is to give people a different angle, give people a different perspective that, you know what, yeah, maybe that is your calling. Maybe you're going to go and find a good job, but maybe not. Maybe you have to, go and start spreading your wings. And if I can give them perspective, and you know what, the employment 9 to 5 is not your only option, then you know what, at least I planted a seed in somebody's mind that there's more out there possibly for them. You know what I'm saying? And so the route of entrepreneurism, whatever it is that you do, whether you go to school for nursing, you go to school for business, you go to school for engineering, you go to school, even if you want to stay in that field, still you would want to learn principles of how to open up a business in that field and not just go work for somebody else. We were a country that 85% of people worked for themselves. I feel like that's kind of changed, right? Right now, 85% of people work for somebody else. And I don't know how well that's worked out, right? I mean, debt's higher than ever, savings is lower than ever. So, really, I think a different message needs to get out there so people aren't, kind of getting, I guess, imprisoned, mentally with what is possible, what they can do and out there. It's not, hey, your 9 to 5 is safety and going to business is risky. When you put it in that context, almost everybody's going to go for safety, right? And so I think that's a matter of perception, and so people need to be given different angles, different perspectives of how it really works out there. And it's not just, hey, there's pure risk in going into business. No, but it is going to stretch you. It is going to make you grow. And I think sometimes people are scared of change, and that's what, so my job, my role is to kind of help people through that process and kind of get them to see that, don't close the doors on yourself. There may be more out there for you. And so in this field, I give them the training and the understanding of what they can do here. And we'll sponsor their licenses. We'll pay for the licensing and all that stuff. So I think it's for the right person, it's a great opportunity. For the person that's in the right mindset, it's a great opportunity. And so I'm proud to be in this, not just this industry, but in this role that we now have of, lifting people up to higher,
That's amazing.
Yes.
And one more question, because you've given me a lot. Is how did you end up here? How did you find yourself here?
Well, I was had just graduated from FIU, and I was searching for the job or whatever, and I ended up working at United Airlines. I looked at maybe I can grow within the company and I could be this move up the corporate ladder, so to speak, right? And so I went that route. And then I was fortunate, and I say fortunate because I did get that different perspective that I was talking about. I was forced to look at that because I saw a massive layoff happen when there was some financial issues with the company. And so, when that layoff occurred, I remember just thinking, this whole safety thing in the job world is kind of a facade, because I saw lives really get changed, people who had relocated their families to stay with the company and move from different places, and to not have a job, it was an issue. So I wasn't one of the ones laid off particularly at that time, but it was enough for me to realize I was ambitious enough that, because the first people that let go were the higher earners. And so I remember seeing that and going, wow, the people who try the hardest, the people who work even some of them have long tenures, they got kind of pushed out just because, look, when the corporation gets in trouble, they're going to look at where can we cut the real fat off the meat, and that's where it went. So I really started searching there. I was very fortunate because I went out, I got a real estate license. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just knew that I wanted to kind of find something to gear out on my own. I don't know if you could understand that, but that's what happened. So I went there and I got a real estate license, and then one of my friends who was working in the same company I was in there, who did get laid off and was doing very well there, introduced me to a guy, a great guy named Rick, in this company. He was expanding one of these offices in that role that I'm in now. He was expanding an office in Miami Lakes. And I can tell you, Philip, I learned more about money in 20 minutes with this gentleman than I had learned my whole life. And so to me, I knew, even though I was pretty young still, I was only not even in my mid-20s, my early 20s or mid-20s, I knew that, quite frankly, I knew people out there wouldn't know anything about what I was being taught there. Because I'm like, if I went through 4 years of college and didn't hear this much, then the engineer guy didn't hear, neither did the lawyer, neither did the doctor, neither did the architect, and much less somebody who didn't go to college at all. Does that make sense? So he kind of took me under his wing. Same thing. I got me licensed, but I was really pulled in by I can help people learn this stuff, influence people with this information. And so I got started part-time. I kept my day job for about 6 months. And then I was able to basically, swing over and never look back again, man. One of the things that I'm grateful for is, I only take orders from my wife. I will say that, but I don't take orders from somebody else anymore. And that's been more than a decade, and it's been a blessing, man. So from that perspective, that's how I got started. It was just this kid who didn't want to stay confined to the 9 to 5, and I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that some people are wired, and I know there's people out there who feel that, but their intuition is saying to them, hey, there's more out there. This is not what you like. This is not what you feel like you could do more. And what my call out is, go do it. Listen to your intuition, follow that, and don't just stay confined and let fear make your decisions more than your faith. So, that's, at the time, I didn't have it articulated the way I just did right now, but there was something in me that kept pushing me to, hey, you know what? Don't settle, go get yours.
And so for other people.
And now, yes, my passion is that. I love helping people plan out finances, and that's great. I don't, I've been doing that for longer than a decade now. But yes, my true passion, where I feel I can do real life-changing things, is yes, when I can take somebody and guide them into living more, whether you want to call it life of purpose, meaningful, whatever it is. But yes, that's what I do now.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Wow, like everything you said. Okay, so yeah, we're pretty much done.